It begins on an island known as Peacock Island, which is located in a small town in Germany, and there will be workers from a company called wearing protective suits and spraying a green chemical on the golf courses, and this material helps that any ice formed melts in the same groove. Because of the song, they can play golf all year round. They are instructed to take care of themselves and not exceed the percentages they are allowed to. And they complete their work until they finish, and then we see a boy named Andrea riding his bike, and he listens to the radio announcer whose name is Patrick, and not a center in the road. Until there is a car in it, it will knock it down and trample the brakes on the last piece, and the person driving this Arabic would be an officer from the city whose name was Dan. He blames Andrea for watching videos while he's driving, so he says that he was listening to the radio and I can't hold it for him. Andrea shows no interest, breaks the signal, and continues his way until he reaches home, and he sees Camelia, the nanny, sitting with his baby sister, Annie. He learns from her that his mother is still at work and has not returned, so he leaves them and goes to his room. On the other hand, Officer Dan calls his daughter Beth. In order to agree with her, he goes to get her from her job, so she tells him that she hasn't finished yet, and she will return alone. At this time, Camelia goes to Andreas' room and tells him that his mother is very late and that she has to go because her family is waiting for her, and as soon as Camelia walks, she wakes up from sleep crying, and Andrea goes to her and tries to silence her in every way until his mother comes home from work. The next day, Andreas' mother wakes up and wakes him up, and she asks him to take care of his sister to some extent. Camelia comes because she is late for her work and you will not be able to wait for her. At the same time, Danny goes to his daughter's house to occupy her at the golf club. He walks and hears Patrick on the radio saying that the rich are fighting nature and climate factors and want to change the nature of the weather for their projects. At that time, Andrea will wake up, put on his school clothes, and get ready to go, and he keeps sitting waiting for Camelia, but she doesn't come, so he has to miss school and stay at home even though I'm at home, and he eats it and changes it, and suddenly he sees her while she is playing, and you will be expecting the TV screen on it. He runs quickly and catches up with her, and then we see Marcelo with his partner, who has a dog named Ruby. His partner, Michael, is also with him, and who are the owners of the golf course, to the city, so that they can see it after it is finished and it is ready for them to operate it and make a profit from it, and you take them for. You bring them to the new stadium and they start experimenting and playing, but once the ball is in the hole, the green chemical penetrates into the soil, it goes down the drinking water pipes and mixes with it. And the first person to drink from the water at that time will be buying things from the supermarket, and as soon as he comes home, he notices that his teeth have turned green, and he tries to wipe them, but he doesn't know. Suddenly something strange happens to him. He feels dizzy and runs fast to his wife on the floor above, from her neck brutally. This is because the virus has spread in his body and turned him into a zombie, and his wife turns too. By this time, Marcel and his partner have finished playing golf and are heading back to the clubhouse. Suddenly, they see employees coming out of the building and running away, but they don't understand what they are afraid of. At this point, the dog Ruby comes out, and she attacks her friend, bites her, and turns her into a zombie. Marcel runs with Michael to enter and investigate any room in the building, and the dog attacks them and grabs Marcel's leg and bites him. He also turns into a zombie. And then Michael runs away from him quickly and goes to the kitchen and takes a knife and stands behind the door to protect himself if someone attacks him. The author, and suddenly the door opens, and the old woman comes out, and she looks strange, and she runs after him very quickly in order to bite him. So Dan runs on his car, stops the buzzing, and does not understand what is happening, and the first thing he does is call his daughter to check on her. When he finds that she does not respond to him, he worries more and sends messages to her, telling her about what is happening on the island and telling her to take care of herself. We see Andrea while he is with his sister at home. He silences her, and his mother returns from work when she realizes that a camera has not come, and she asks Andrea to work for his infant sister, and when he comes to take water from the tap, his mother warns him that he is feeding her from the bottle allocated for her in the refrigerator, and at night Andrea gets out of his room. Suddenly, he sees his mother transforming and looking strange, and you want to attack him, he thinks. She is tired and tells her that he will get her medicine, but at the same time, he is running away from her and afraid. Suddenly, as they were running in the middle of the car, Officer Dan came, who was driving quickly to go to his daughter, and accidentally hit Andreas' mother, because it is not centered on the road. And he's busy on the mobile, so I fell on the ground, and then it goes down and comes down. From Arabic. And he discovers that she is a zombie, like all the people he saw and escaped from. Andrea guesses. Whoever stays standing close to her enters the house and locks himself, and don't touch it to be safe, so they say that she is his mother, and it is not possible for him to leave her. Then Dan understands, she is not the only one who has had this happen to her, and there is a lot of uniforms in the city, and he takes his car and walks quickly, because he sees a lot of people coming to him. At that moment, Andrea pulled his mother by the leg and tried to push her away from the road and bring her into the house. Without letting her touch him, he quickly locks the door and tries to call the police, and he finds a registered message for all the residents of Peacock Island. They ask them to stay at home and not open up to anyone, and he sees Andrea, but live on Facebook, and there will be a large number of zombies spread in the streets, so he pulled his mother from her feet and her hands to the bathroom, and he locks the door on her from the outside so that she can't get out, and the voice of his sister's crying is that I am very loud. This kills zombies. They go to the house and try to break into it, so Andre tries to silence her so that they can walk away from them, and he feels terrified because he is alone. He sees the house while she is still at her workplace at the golf club, and hidden so that no one can see it. And her father speaks in a low voice, and she tells him that she is afraid because they are everywhere around her. So he assured her that he was coming for her on the way, and he asks her not to move. When he reaches Dana at the door and gets out of the car, he is met by 3 zombies who attack him. He quickly hits them with the one with him, and he enters his daughter quickly and closes the door of the building, and at this time, the number of people infected with the virus has increased greatly. Most of them go to the bridge to get out of the island, so the government decides to close the bridge to prevent their spread outside the island, and they surround them with military planes and throw explosives and missiles at them in order to eliminate them, and they actually destroy the bridge and kill them. Devastated, she would come back again and be afraid, and Andrea would follow all the news on his mobile phone, and he would sit beside his sister, looking after her and closing all the windows. When Hanny cries, he takes her to make her deterrent, then opens the tap to take water to prepare the feed, but he sees her moose and makes it for her in the last corner. Then he goes to the bathroom and opens the door for his mother to give her food, because it will be difficult for him, but he forgets the bathroom door is open, and you come to see him without taking care of him, and she crawls on the ground until she gets close to her mother, who wants to attack and bite her, and when Andrea sees her, he fears for his sister, so he draws his mother's attention to him to leave his sister and go after him, until he makes her get out of the bathroom to get away from his sister. So you feel sorry for me and get out of the bathroom and go after them. At this point, Andre gets more tense, and suddenly the TV screen falls on his mother's head and she dies, so he feels his stomach towards her, takes her back to the bathroom, takes his sister, and decides to take her out of the house to get her food because she doesn't want to breastfeed his sister without anyone seeing him. But as he walks, they attack people infected with the virus and discover that there are still millions of people on the streets, so he runs away from them and goes to the club to enter the supermarket, and he finds all the doors locked, and the number of zombies besieging him increases. He is about to surrender until suddenly he finds the door opening and someone pulls him inside, and he discovers that he is the officer Dan who punched his mother in Arabic, and Andrea kept looking for something to eat for his sister. It is noted that one infected with the virus is locked up, so they assured Danny that she was his daughter, Pat, and he has hope that it will ease and return to normal again. And at night, they would be sitting playing Patrick's radio show, and who talks about what happens to people on Peacock Island, and the minister talks to them about their intention, in that they eliminate the entire island in order to save the world before the virus spreads. Until now, no one knows the cause of his infection, and Dan decides to make an intervention with him and talk to him. And he knows that he is a resident of the island with 2 children. This is not his injured daughter, and he asks him for help so that he can go out and treat her. The distributor warns him not to go outside the island because this will help spread the virus further. Then Dan talks to Andrea, and they think about the reason behind the spread of the virus, and how is it transmitted to people. Dan speculates that water is the reason, because everyone drinks it, and it is possible that the terrorists on the island are the ones who put the virus in the water. Andrea tells him that he considers that he did not drink water because he drinks Coca-Cola all the time, and they agree that they can't stay in the supermarket a lot because it's not safe. The next day they decide to go out and flee in their Arabic, and Dan takes his daughter with him and puts her head inside a locked box so that she doesn't disturb any of them, and they continue their way towards woods. On the other hand, the company that was responsible for spraying the golf course with the green substance sent 2 of their employees to meet Michael, the owner of the course, and the only one who didn't get anything after his partners got infected with the virus, and he thinks they are coming to solve the problem after they made sure that they were the cause of their toxic substance. And he reassures them that he burned all the contracts between them, which proves that he was in agreement with them to equip the golf course, and he is surprised that they grab him and put part of the toxic substance in his bug to poison him. Then it turns into a zombie. At this time, Andrea goes to the place that pumps water to the island, and they decide that they leave me in Arabic because if they take it with them, they might cry and draw attention to them, and then the zombies will surround them. And they really leave it and lock it up, and they take a house with them so that they don't leave her with the child. And when they enter, she sees a house of tanks, runs on it, gets drawn to it, throws herself in it, and her father goes to get her out. But he finds a zombie in the water and tries to get away from him. Suddenly, the zombie comes out and attacks Andrea, who runs away from him until he reaches the car and rides with his sister, and keeps waiting for Dan to come back, and Dan will be at that time trying to pull his daughter. He takes her out of the water, and finds her hand dislocated in his hand, and he becomes very sad about what happens to her, so he takes her with him and uses her hands to keep the zombies away from him until he reaches the car, and when Andrea sees her hand and focuses on it, he finds that it has green grass, and then he tells Dan that the terrorists are the ones who lost this water, as he thought. And the reason behind all this is the green material of the stadium golf, and they decide to go there to find out the truth. At that time, they would be the 2 girls that the company sent to get rid of Michael. They went to the golf course, and they put a white ball in it. And this corona has a substance that will eliminate the virus, which is in the green grass, in less than 24 hours, and when Dan and Andrea arrive at the golf clubhouse, they find that all doors are locked. Dan gets up from the roof, and it is estimated that he entered the building. And he opens the door for them, and he takes his daughter to lock her up in a room alone. As for Andrea, he puts me in his place and surrounds her with chairs to be safe. And he goes with Dan to search for the substance that was the cause of the spread of the virus. And Andrea is keen to take pictures of everything with Pat's mobile phone. After he opened it with her fingerprint on her cut shield that they had, and by chance they see a dog infected with the virus, but at a late stage. Because his body would be covered with green grass, Dan Balzad gets annoyed when he sees him, because he is afraid that his daughter will reach this stage and that he will not be able to treat her, and they decide to disperse, and each one of them goes around in a different direction to buy time. And when Andrea returns, he discovers that his sister is not in the place where he left her. He is very afraid of her and keeps going everywhere. On the other side, he meets Dan, who is looking for bombs in the building that are about to explode. He kept walking in the direction of the wires to try to prevent the whole explosion, but he gets bitten by one of the zombies and gets infected with the virus too, and at the last moment, it prevents the countdown and stops it. At that time, the 2 girls would still be on the field, and they notice that the countdown has stopped, and what building explode. So they decide to come back again to see what is happening. I am sitting on the floor in the kitchen, so they take out the poisonous substance that they have and put it on the ground for her with all harshness so that she can eat it, and they leave it and walk. After Swanee, Andrea comes and sees his sister, and he is happy when he finds her and takes her away. Before he takes her out, they bring the 2 girls close to him and try to give him the poisonous substance too. He resists them, and I turns into a zombie, and she bites one of the two girls in her hands, so she also turns into a zombie. Suddenly Dan comes after he gets infected and bites the healthy girl and turns her into a zombie too. A white ball falls from the girl, and Andrea accidentally steps on it. So a lot of smoke comes out of the virus, and Dan and I smell it, and Andre gets shocked when he sees what happened to Dan, and he takes the phone from him and turns away from him. And he goes to sit in a place by himself, and decides that he only opens directly. He explains to the people what is happening and the reasons for the spread of the infection, and that the infected people turn their bodies into green grass after a period of infection, and he informs them that he is not infected, and he needs someone from the German government to help him and his sister, and his video spreads everywhere, and the government responds, but negatively, and they send their forces to get rid of all those who are on the island and are fed in them, and there will be one of them who will be saved because of the substance he smelled. But they kill him and his daughter without being sure of his words, and when Andre sees them, he is afraid that they will kill him and his sister, and he decides to flee immediately from the place. Happily, Camelia, Hanny's nanny, watches his video, and she decides to go to the island in a boat to save it. And Andre sees her and goes with her, and he and his sister are away from the island. If you get scared, get rid of the virus and get back to normal again. And then you announce the government said it got rid of all the infected people on the island, and now they can live in safety after they have eliminated the virus. And don't forget to subscribe to the Ladybug Synopsis channel.